Hello there. Hey everybody. Welcome. Welcome. I am Kendall and I am a guide with Through the Trees. I am coming on today, noon on Wednesday, December 30th. Wow. Almost the end of the year. Almost 2021. I've been coming on every week to do a wild wellness mini class, something that is about connecting with nature in some way. I like to do a lot of plant and tree identification, information on foraging for wild edible plants, some wild crafting, which can be, making different things using wild plants, like making teas and tinctures and things like that. So kind of a variety of things, and it'll be a little different every week. So today I'm coming on to show you how to make some evergreen salad dressing. So that's what I'm doing this week. We've done some other things in the past. Honey fermented cranberries was last Wednesday. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. It's really easy and really yummy. I think it was the week before. I showed you how to make ice lanterns, particularly for the winter solstice, which was December 21st. But they're so fun to make anytime, in the winter, especially where you can put them outside. They're easy to do, so you can search for ice lantern video on the Through the Trees page. And today I am going to make an evergreen salad dressing. So when I talk about evergreen, I'm sure many of you know that evergreens, what we think of are the trees with needles. Hi Helen, good afternoon. It is afternoon. The morning just flew by for me today. So your trees with needles that stay green all winter long. So we think of pine trees, fir, spruce, hemlock. There's some others, cedar, and they pretty much are all have edible parts. The one that you want to avoid is the Y-E-W tree. But besides that, so look it up, know what it looks like. But most of the ones that we see around, you can use for a lot of things. They have wonderful medicinal gifts for us, and it's really kind of special to be able to go out and harvest with gratitude, for the tree, for the plant, harvest some needles, harvest whatever you may be using, and in this case, making some salad dressing. So when you're making this salad dressing, I'm going to show you a few different options for the evergreens that you could try. Like I said, you could use spruce, hemlock, fir. There are different types of fir, pine. There are different species of pine. You can pretty much use any of them. They all taste a little different. They're all going to have that, evergreen, piney. This is fir. Flavor. Some of them are much stronger than others. So what you can actually do is kind of taste a little bit. If you go outside and you're just trying to decide what you want to use for your salad dressing, you can, so this is balsam fir. This is often what's used for like Christmas trees. Ooh, that's really strong. This is from a little bit of an older tree, but it's good. It has that really, I say piney, even though it's not pine, but that strong flavor. The smell, the smell when you smell a wreath or an evergreen wreath or, Christmas trees. It's that same flavor, but they vary. So one fir tree, actually, the needles may taste a little bit different from another fir tree. A younger, looking for trees that are a little bit younger, the needles will be a little bit milder. In my opinion, generally taste a little better. But you can kind of just test it out and see what you think. I would say they all have like a little bit of this, they're kind of astringent a bit, especially the fir more so. But most of them have a little bit of like a sourness to them as well. So I have, actually I'll show you. Here's fir, balsam fir, and here's an eastern hemlock. So they both have flat needles. And I'm not going to get too much into the identification. That's sort of a topic for another day. You can see the hemlock on this side has shorter needles than the fir, but you could use either one. But again, as far as flavor goes, hemlock, you can try it. And that one's like a little more sour. I mean, in a good way. Has a little more of a soury kind of flavor than the fir. And then here is an eastern white pine. So we have different types of pines in Maine, different species. There are a lot of red pine near me. However, we have a ton of the eastern white pine in the woods behind my home. So with the eastern white pine, you know it's an eastern white pine because it has 5 needles in a cluster here. And I've done some videos more specifically on this before, but in like a cluster, you'll see there's 5 needles. The eastern white, the white pine, and you think of white, W-H-I-T-E, 5 letters, 5 needles in a cluster. I like these for a lot of different recipes. They just seem to be a little bit milder. And it has a little bit more of that lemony kind of sour flavor, I would say, than some of the others. But try it out, see what you like. You kind of can't go wrong except for the yew tree you want to avoid. I don't have one to show you, but you can look it up. You don't want to use those needles. Okay, it was a little chewy, a little tough. Makes really great tea though, any of these evergreen needles. Okay, so I'm going to turn my camera down here so I can kind of show you what's going on. Hopefully this view will work for you. Let's see here. All right. If anybody is like, hey, Kendall, I can't tell what you're doing. That's a terrible angle. Just speak up. Let me know. I won't be offended. It's all kind of trial and error a little bit. So here I have the olive oil that I infused maybe 2 weeks ago. And for this, I used fir. So again, that's what I first was showing you. And so it depends how much you want to make. You know, this is obviously a smaller mason jar. So I added the fir in here, and generally what you want to do is you would want to take whatever container you're using and fill it, pack it at least halfway. You could pack it all the way to the top and just really stuff the needles in there. You can also use the twig part as well. So you can use this entire piece you could put in there. Oh, we have a cat trying to hop up here. Moo, you gotta hop down. I don't know if she would like my salad dressing. So generally it's a good idea to kind of just cut it up a little bit before you put it in your jar, and that'll just help the flavor to infuse into the oil a little bit better. You don't have to, you know, again, you may try this and do it different ways every time you do it. I don't think there's really a wrong way to do it. So what I did here is I probably clipped like 2 or 3 inch pieces and just put them in the jar. I filled this about halfway, and then I filled it the rest of the way, leaving about 1 inch of space at the top with olive oil. Okay, so again, whatever needles you're using, fill it at least halfway with the needles, kind of pack them in there, and then fill it almost to the top, leaving about 1 inch of space at the top with your olive oil. And then you're going to want to cover it and then put it aside for at least 1 week. You could do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, probably not much longer than that. And you can certainly taste it, you know, try it after a week and see if it's about where you would like it to be as far as flavor. One thing that's generally a good idea to do is to take the needles and dry them out for a couple of days. So just, you know, bring them inside, clip them off the tree, lay them down and just let them dry a little bit, because you don't want to have too much moisture in your olive oil infusion, because mold can grow. So something to keep in mind, just give them a couple of days sitting inside in a warm spot, and that'll help to prevent any mold from forming if there's any excess moisture. Okay, so you have your olive oil. It's been infused for a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and now you're ready to make your salad dressing. Okay, so I'm going to open this, and I haven't opened this at all since I first started infusing it a couple of weeks ago. It smells kind of sweet, actually. So you can either, scoop out your needles, or you can pour it through a strainer. I'm going to try pouring through a strainer right now into the jar that I'm going to make my dressing in. Okay. So let's see. Hopefully I don't make too much of a mess here. And this way the strainer will, or colander, or whatever you want to call it, will catch your needles. If any come out. There. So now I'm left with my needles, and I'll probably just toss them outdoors. And now we have the infused olive oil. So I have about a half a cup. So when you are making the salad dressing, I would start with a half a cup, a third to a half a cup of your infused oil. I just want to smell it again. It has a very nice sweet smell to it, not as kind of evergreeny as I thought it would be. Okay. So now I'm going to add a few other ingredients. It's really, really simple. I'm going to add a little fresh lemon juice. Let me move this back. You can probably see it better. There we go. It doesn't have to be fresh. I think it tastes better when it's fresh. If you're using a third to a half a cup of olive oil, I would use about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Squeeze it right in there. Watch out for seeds, obviously. And this just complements it really nicely, because the needles already have a little bit of this kind of sour, almost lemony taste to them, especially the pine. All right, so there's your lemon. I add about a half a teaspoon of sea salt. So I'm just going to kind of eye this. It's also your preference. If you like less salt, use less salt. I like to use sea salt because it still has all those minerals in it. This is the Himalayan salt, so that's a good one if you are looking for a salt like that. Okay, so I have my salt in there. So then you can add, you can do a bunch of different things. You could certainly add a variety of ingredients and just make this your own, make it the way you prefer. What I like to do is add a little bit of garlic, and depends on what I have. So if I have garlic powder, I'll add just a little bit because it can be pretty strong. So, probably no more, less than a 1/4 teaspoon of that. If you want to use fresh garlic, you could definitely take like a garlic clove and you could smash it and just put it in your dressing and let it sit, and that flavor will just diffuse into the dressing a bit. Or you could mince it pretty finely and put the whole clove once it's minced, into your dressing. And then the last thing I'm going to add, so we have our infused oil, we have some lemon juice, and then we have sea salt, and then the little garlic, either dried garlic powder or a garlic clove, probably minced. The last thing I'm going to add, you don't have to do this, but I like to add a little bit of maple syrup. So I would say about a teaspoon, but again, this is all your preference, do it to taste. A little about a teaspoon. All right, so that is all the ingredients that I'm going to add. You could add a little vinegar. You know, I like to add apple cider vinegar to my dressings. Here I have the acid already. I have the lemon juice, so I could use vinegar instead. I like to use lemon though, with especially with evergreen salad dressings. I just think it's a nice complement. Put your cover on, shake it up. And then you can just store it. It doesn't even need to be in the refrigerator. You can put it in the refrigerator, but you can also leave it out on your counter. And I'm just gonna taste it. It's really good. Really tasty. I would say, having shown you the way that I infuse that olive oil, I would like to have a little more evergreen flavor in there than there actually is. So I could have chopped these up more. I didn't really. You could really cut them up into pretty small pieces. And then that would help to disperse some of that flavor a bit more. And again, that'll vary, you know, just depending on the species, the age of the tree, all these different factors. So it's really tasty. You know, this is a good amount of dressing for a salad. And so the other thing about this, not only is it just fun, I think, to be able to go out and, you know, gather some wild plants, you know, wild parts of trees. And it's just kind of, it's just a nice way to, it's fun, but it's just this connection with the earth and with nature, which, you know, we're all part of it. So it's kind of bringing us back to that a little bit more, and just being thankful for what the earth provides, which is pretty amazing. But it also, so it's not just a fun, enjoyable thing to do, but it's also good for you. So you have a lot of different minerals, vitamins in evergreen needles. They vary, you know, obviously depending on which ones you're using, but they all have a good amount of vitamin C, vitamin A. They're, you know, antibacterial, antiviral, astringent, like all these different factors that make them really good for you, which is why they're often used in medicinal ways as teas, tinctures, things like that. So I think that is about it for your olive oil, evergreen salad dressing infused in olive oil. So any questions for me at this point? I don't see any, and I'll always come back and check comments and questions later on. If there are any, I can catch them then. Yeah, I think that's it. So if you do try it, if you do make some, you know, feel free to share below this video. I would love to see it or hear what you think of it. And yeah, it's kind of, oh, it smells so good. It's kind of a fun salad dressing to make, especially this time of year. All right. Well, I think that is it for today. I will be on next week on Thursday. I've been doing Wednesdays the last couple of weeks because it just sort of worked out with the holidays and our homeschool program that we usually have on Wednesdays. So usually I'm working at that on Wednesdays, but we've had a couple of weeks off from that. So next week I'll be back on Thursday at noon, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to share with you yet. I guess it'll be a surprise. All right. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Jane. Yay, I can't wait for you to try it too. And definitely, if you want to, come back and share because I would love to hear what you think. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon and Happy New Year. We're almost there, right? All right. Bye, everybody. Take care.